Oh boy, does it feel good to be back. The Inquisitive Mamba podcast, episode 44. Oh my goodness, it feels so good to say that. I have so much to get into in tonight's show. I'm actually living in Los Angeles now. I'm living on the West Coast. I'm living that West Coast lifestyle. Well, you guys know me. I love to talk about sports. So I got a ton of sports to talk about, a little bit of recap of my life these past 4 months. I still can't believe I haven't recorded in 4 months. It's been so freaking insane, but I'm now living in Los Angeles, and I finally can able to record again. It's been hectic, but last night I went to a UCLA Arizona game and Pac-12 football, and to say the least, both offenses showed up. It wasn't a disappointment on either end, but yes, UCLA's head coach is still Chip Kelly. I mean, they're hanging on by a thread. Some fans from UCLA thought they were going to win the Pac-12, or still think they're going to win the Pac-12, but that's clearly not going to happen after that dreadful loss to Arizona last night. And around halftime, I was walking around the stadium and I was grabbing myself a hot chocolate because it was like 45, 50 degrees. It was just really, really cold there. And moving to California, you don't think that it's going to get that cold, but hey, what do I know? So I'm walking around the stadium around halftime and I approach an Arizona fan and I ask him, I say, well, this quarterback that you guys have, Jamie Delora, is pretty good. I mean, his stats are, good this season and he's looked good this game. So why are you guys 3-6? And he told me, he said, the reason why we're 3-6 is because of our recruiting and our new coach. And I was like, well, who's their head coach? And he said his name was Jeff Fish, or excuse me, Jed Fish. And I didn't know who that was, but I guess he was a Patriots former coach. But he was telling me Arizona is going to be on the rise the next couple years, and he might not be wrong. Mainly because Arizona is going to be staying in the Pac-12 as USC and UCLA are going to be leaving the Pac-12 and going to the Big Ten in the next 2 years or so. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, for a little recap of that game, it was a good game overall. UCLA couldn't pull it off. Arizona ended up winning 34-28, and UCLA is just so run heavy the way that their play style and that quarterback Dorian Thompson Robinson, he played a great game. Obviously, just Charbonnet was their main focus on the ground. I think he ran for 180 yards. But I'm thinking to myself while watching that game, I'm like, there's no way this team is going to beat USC next weekend. And I'm just thinking, there's no way. And there was only, I think there would maybe have been like 12,000 fans there, coming from a person from Florida who was a big Gator fan, watching Gators, my whole life, and going to that stadium, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to the Rose Bowl. It was UCLA Arizona. It was a good show out for their program, but that's a little recap of that UCLA Arizona game I went to last night. So definitely can check that off my bucket list from the Rose Bowl. So moving on to the NFL. How about a crazy day of NFL today? Vikings and Bills. I would definitely say that could be game of the year. Justin Jefferson catch 193 yards on the day for Justin Jefferson. The Vikings pulled it off in overtime at the end. Josh Allen ended up throwing crucial interception at the last play on the last play of the game. And now Josh Allen has the most turnovers in the NFL with 9 interceptions this season. And I know there's no way you're gonna write the Bills off just yet. It's still so early. They're 6-3, and it's weird to say because they look like they were going to be dominating the AFC East, and now they have the Miami Dolphins right there on their necks. I'm gonna get into the Dolphins a little later on, but yeah, that Vikings Bills game was crazy to say the least. And that fumble right before overtime, I was like, oh my goodness, this game is just insane. But that Justin Jefferson catch on 4th and 18, I think it was one-handed catch, unbelievable, unbelievable. So I just finished watching that Niners Chargers game just right around 30 minutes ago. It started 5:20 my time, normally 8:20, which is still an adjustment for me. But it was a good game overall. Just watching the Niners, you watch them play. They're just so, sound as a team. I still think that obviously, Jimmy G is not the answer, of course. Okay, but I mean, he gets the job done. They have all the pieces. I mean, they're, a little banged up right now, but I mean, they're just such a solid team. And that running back tandem of McCaffrey excuse me, not Jeff Wilson. He was on the Niners and he got traded to the Dolphins. Not Raheem Mostert. I don't know why I keep thinking of those guys, but no, it's Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell. That 1-2 back, punch that now that you can see since Elijah Mitchell is back and he's healthy. The Niners, man, they're just one of those teams that you don't want to play, and especially coming into November and December, they're just one of those teams. And the Chargers had that game, I thought in the bag for the most part. But one big thing from that Chargers Niners game was that Dre Greenlaw helmet to helmet on Justin Herbert. Now, if you ask me while watching that game, did I think that was, intentional? Absolutely not. But I heard Tony Dungy on the broadcast, and he said that Justin Herbert, was a runner in that position where, it's on him basically. Where Dre Greenlaw could, he can only do so much. So should I think he have been ejected for that? No, because at that point, he's a runner, he has the football, and it's not like he was defenseless at that, the point in time. So the NFL is, it's going in that position where, they want to protect the quarterback. And I completely understand that. It's all about protecting the quarterback, especially after the Tua Tagovailoa concussion, situation, and the two concussions he suffered, one against the Bills and then the major one against the Bengals, where some people thought he was probably never going to play again. Now, obviously he's back, but, obviously I understand you want to protect the quarterback. It's a quarterback league, and Justin Herbert's just, a young, star in this league. So it makes total sense, but do I agree with it? No, I don't think the Dre Greenlaw, the linebacker for the Niners, should have been ejected from the game. So just a little take on that. But, and, watching the Chargers at the end of that game, you think to yourself, you're like, I wrote this down in my notes. They're so close, but they're so far. I know they're missing Mike Williams. I know they're missing Keenan Allen, but they're so close, but they're so far. They have the pieces. Obviously, Nick Bosa's out right now with that groin injury. But I just feel like they're just not there. And I know injuries, have killed this team, and everyone's like, are they going to get over the hump? They're going to get over the hump. Well, clearly not. Now they're 5-4, and they got to play Kansas City next weekend here in actually LA. So the Chargers, man, they're just one of those teams you just can't figure out. So just a little quick recap of that Niners Chargers game. Lastly, before I do move on from that, how about Funga for the Niners, their safety, that rookie? He's been super impressive. He got the interception on Herbert there in that game. He's actually a USC product out here in Southern California, but the Niners, man, they draft well. They're just a solid team overall. So I want to talk about the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not coming on here to say that Tua is the MVP. I'm not coming on here to say that I was wrong. I still think Tua is a good quarterback. I never said he was a bad quarterback. I mean, how bad can you be coming from Alabama? I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of Alabama quarterbacks in the years that haven't panned out. McCarron, McElroy, etc. But Tua's in a great system. We all know that. Mike McDaniel is an offensive juggernaut, and they have a lot of pieces around him. They went out and got Teron Armstead at left tackle for him. I understand that's the quarterback that you want to build around. You drafted Jalen Waddle. You got Tyreek Hill for, a haul. You went out and, just got Jeff Wilson to help the backfield and with Mostert. They're doing all the right things, but I still watch some of these games, and I still just don't think he has that arm strength. And anyone can come at me and, tell me that I'm wrong. And I'm always, I'm a student of the game. I'm always willing to learn and wanting to learn. But just sitting there, watching these games, and I watch a lot of film, I watch a lot of tape. I'm, really trying to get my knowledge to where I can, be up there with, with the big leagues. I'm just really starting to dive into the game of football at a whole nother level now, not just from a fans, perspective and, point of view, but, watching Tua, I think, he's a good quarterback. He has the pocket presence, he has the IQ. It's just the arm strength that, that I think he lacks. And I was listening to Phil Simms, and former New York Giants quarterback, won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants in during their time with Bill Parcells, I'm pretty sure. But I was listening to him, and he said Tua is a good quarterback, but he doesn't have the arm strength. And I think that's exactly correct. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. I have got some friends of mine that are big Dolphins fans, and I tell him, I say, Tua is a good quarterback. He just doesn't have the arm strength. Now, does he really need the arm strength when you have, Tyreek Hill and Waddle? A lot of teams are playing, they're not going to play man on Waddle and Hill. I completely understand that. They're going to play zone, they're going to play over the top type coverage just because they don't want to get beat deep. Now I get that. A lot of stuff is open over the middle too, but how can I be impressed with the Dolphins? I know they're 7-3, and Tua is undefeated this season when he's played. But how can I be impressed with wins over the Lions, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Bears? Why would I be impressed over that? Okay, you can say they beat the Bills and they beat the Ravens. Okay, you were down big to the Ravens, and you almost lost to the. You were very close to losing to the Bills. It came down to one play, and the Bills weren't even fully healthy. So I'm not extremely impressed by the Miami Dolphins just yet. I keep telling my friend, you got to win the ring first. Let's win a playoff game first. You're 7-3. You're top of the division right now. You got the bye week coming up, and then you got the Texans. After that, your schedule starts to pick up. You got the Chargers, the Niners, the Packers, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Bills. That is going to be the meat of their schedule, which everybody understands that. So that's how I'm feeling right now about the Miami Dolphins. Their defense really showed up today. I will give them that. I will come on here and I will say the Dolphins, defense showed up today because they were 24th in points per game and they were 24th ranked defense. They were the 24th ranked defense before coming into today. The addition of Bradley Chubb was huge for them. Don't get me wrong, but I'm still not, coming on here and saying, "Oh, the Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl because they're 7-3." They're still the Vikings. They're still the Eagles. Um, there's a couple other teams that right there in the mix. So that's kind of how I'm feeling, and the season's going to progress. But once we get into these next couple weeks here, this home stretch of the season, it's going to be totally different. They're actually going to play real teams. Now, if they do that against the Niners or the Chargers or the the Bills again, then okay, then we're talking about a different story. But let's pump the brakes. They're very good. They're a very good team. They have the pieces. Now let's see how the rest of the season goes. Moving on. Moving on. How about Justin Fields in that Lions game today? I think he ran for over 100. It was over 100 yards again today. Now, watching Justin Fields, so many people at the beginning of the season were just, critiquing him and, criticizing him like crazy because, he doesn't have the arm and he, when the pocket breaks down, he just runs. Of course he runs, but let's think of this. He doesn't have a lot of help. Now, is he going to be your franchise quarterback? I think he is, but the Chargers, the Bears are doing the right thing. They're building around him. They're I think I like the addition of Claypool going out there. You flip the Roquan Smith trade that I think that worked out perfectly, and I like their two running back set with David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. I do like the way that they're going. Darnell Mooney's a really, he's a good young player in this league. I love Cole Kmet. I think he's a, very solid young tight end, and he's only going to get better. Now he went out with a knee injury late at the end of that game, but he had 2 touchdowns on the day, and just watching that game and kind of taking piece by piece. Fields is their whole team, and everyone understands that, and he's just so fun to watch. I mean, last week he broke the record for Michael Vick's all rushing yards in a regular season game, 178 yards. I think in his last 3 games he has 549 yards combined or rushing. I mean, that's insane. So Fields is fun to watch, but obviously it's also fun to watch him and watch him in the pocket. And I've watched a lot of tape on Fields, and just watching him play, he's just fun to watch. And Bears fans are starting to get excited about him because they went out and they got the new coach in Matt Eberflus, and it's a whole new system, whole new team. So be interesting to see what the Bears do here, towards the end of the season. Obviously, they're not going to make the playoffs. I don't expect them to, but just kind of building on some momentum there that they lost by 1 point at the end. So, and the Lions, Dan Campbell, they picked up their first, road win of the season. So, the Bears are the Bears are, they're coming. It's going to take time, but I think it's going to work out for them. So back to that Bills game. I'm watching that Bills Vikings game, and I watched it, all the way throughout. I'm sitting there watching it on my TV, and the Bills just I understand Josh Allen's your franchise quarterback. I completely understand that. But they rely on him so much. Every little thing they do, it's like I understand he's your franchise quarterback. I completely get that. But last week against the Jets, you almost lost your franchise quarterback because you're asking him to do so much. I mean, even today I think he threw the ball over 35 times, even with a bad elbow. Now, I'm no doctor. I'm not saying I'm a doctor, but should Josh Allen technically have been even playing in this game today? No. He went down or earlier in the game, and it looked scary. Allen's forcing the ball again. He's back to where he was as in his earlier days when he was a rookie in his second year, and he's forcing balls he doesn't need to force. Like that last play of the game there, he didn't even need to do that. But they just rely on him so much because they have no run. They have no real run game. They run the 3 running back set with James Cook, Devin Singletary, and Zach Moss. They like to rotate those 3 guys in and out of the game. I completely get that, but they're just so Josh Allen heavy, and these last 2 weeks has come back to bite them. I mean, they were up 24-10 in this game, and they still couldn't close it out. I just think the Bills are just they're there. They're there. They think they're there in their mind, but they're not yet. Like I don't know. I still can't figure them out. The Bills are a great team. Can they still win the AFC? Absolutely. Can they still win the AFC East? Yes, but they're not as perfect as people put them out to be. It's like every week it's like, oh, the Bills, Josh Allen, nope, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. It's like, well, they still have to play the game and they still have to, perform. So little bit of thoughts on that. So how about the Packers Cowboys game? It feels like it's always, always, always the Aaron Rodgers show when it comes to Dallas and Green Bay. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine this morning on the phone, and I called him and I said, he asked me, he said, who do you think's going to win this game today, later today? Packers Cowboys. I said, I'm going to take the Packers. I know that it was a 3.5 point spread. And I said the Packers because Aaron Rodgers just has the Cowboys number, whether it's in Lambeau, whether it's in Dallas, wherever it is. Aaron Rodgers finds a way, and you can blame Mike McCarthy for that 4th and 3 there at the end in overtime, and they didn't get it. And it was, kind of a busted play, but the Packers showed up, and now they're 4-6. Am I as to be scared of the Packers? No, no, but they won, and it's just Aaron Rodgers, man. He's just, you can never count him out. How about the rookie Christian Watson though? 3 touchdowns on the day. The North Dakota State product. You had to feel good for him being a rookie like that. You drop your opening touchdown in week 1 against the Vikings like a bomb. Rodgers puts it right in his hands. Rodgers looks over at the camera and he goes, "Oh man!" But I mean, good for him. 3 touchdowns on the day. And is he, has he arrived yet? I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a confidence, boost for him for sure. I mean, you have Aaron freaking Rodgers, one of the baddest freaking quarterbacks on the planet. Still is, still always will be. So am I writing off Green Bay just yet? No, not with Aaron Rodgers. Packers love playing those cold games at home in November and December. That's where they thrive. So yeah, that's the Packers for you. And what really, really got me too in that game was Rogers looked at Aaron LaFleur. Rogers looked at Matt LaFleur after that play call out of the timeout. I think it was right at the end of the game, and he was like, almost like, what the bleep, basically. Why would you call that play call? Because he wanted them to run the ball. And usually Rogers wants to throw the ball at all costs. Of course, I completely understand that. But the run game was working for them. The ground game was working. They were, going with the, two back set with AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, and it was working. Did it cost them? No, but that's the kind of situation where you think if they would have lost that game, everyone would have went back to that exact play and dissected it, like a heart surgeon. And you sit there and you're just like, Aaron Rodgers or Matt LaFleur, which one's going to go first? Is Aaron Rodgers going to stay? I know he signed that, contract in the offseason, or are they going to let go of LaFleur? So, but Dak threw those 2 early interceptions in the beginning of the game, and I don't know if it cost them, but it didn't help for sure. So I remember a friend of mine sent me a thing earlier about Cooper Rush and Dak, and Cooper Rush is no, Dak's the quarterback. Dak no, but um, I think it's safe to say that Tony Pollard deserves to be running back number 1. I think he had over 80 yards again today. He hits the hole. He goes. He's better than Zeke. I'm sorry. Also, too, this is my thing with Cowboys fans too. If Jerry Jones was smart, he would have let Zeke go and kept Amari Cooper. You have Pollard. The Cowboys have always had a good O line. I think since for the longest time, and their O line to the start of the season wasn't that good. But the Cowboys, man, they just the O line is just somehow, it's always. I mean, you've had Zach Martin for a while now. Tyron Smith's still up, but that rookie Tyler Smith from Tulsa's been pretty good for them. So I mean, they lost Connor Williams and Leal Collins, and they still have a good O line. They still find a way somehow. But I really think the Cowboys should really at the end of the season make a decision wherever they end up. If it's wild card, if it's NFC Championship, whether it's divisional, I definitely think they need to reevaluate the Zeke contract and say, okay, he's making this amount of money. Because Pollard's a free agent, so I mean, you really have to figure that out because realistically, the Cowboys will probably let Pollard walk, and they'll keep Zeke, and they'll keep that as well. So moving on to that Bucs Seahawks game, it started at 6:30 for me, and I woke up and I think in the mid third quarter, and I looked and I was like, holy crap, the Bucs are up 14-3. Where's this Tampa Bay team? I watched it back too. The Seahawks just really couldn't get into a rhythm. They were playing down the whole game. They kind of made a push late there. Gino made some great plays with his legs, but that really what killed them was that fumble in the red zone. That absolutely killed them. And I remember I text my friends and I tweeted, I go, Oh, there's the Geno that we all love and know, the Geno that turns the ball over. And that, I think that, I mean, obviously, I know that was a crucial turnover, and that definitely costed them, you know. But also, Tampa had a great game plan. They played really well. The Seahawks, were coming in hot. They were 6-3. The Bucks came in with a great game plan. Their run game was off the charts today. Leonard Fournette went out. I think he finished the day with 57 yards, and then Rashad White, he did his thing. He was great on the ground, and I mean the Bucks they looked good today. Now it's good going into the bye. You're 5-5. You get the next week off. I don't know who they play next week, but or the week after, but it's a good confidence boost. A lot, they got a lot of veterans on that team, and much needed rest for Brady. But Brady looks good today. Hands down, Brady looked good today. He was firing all cylinders. The offense was. It did help out with the defense. Giving them that much needed help that they needed, because their defense has kind of been a letdown. For most of this season so far. So, but it was also good for them to get Antoine Winfield back. Much needed help on the back end. Moving on from that, Seahawks. Actually, no. Before I move on, I got to go back to my notes. How about that play where Leonard Fournette threw it to Brady? Brady lined up out wide on rookie sensational corner Tariq Woolen, who actually has 5 interceptions this season, and then Brady tripped him at the end. That was so funny. I was watching that game in real time, and I was like, "What are the Bucks doing? You're up 14-3. You're going to let the Seahawks get back into this game?" And then they gave him some kind of a momentum. I was like, "Oh my God, what are they doing?" So a little bit of thought, little bit of thought from that Bucks Seahawks game. How about the Rams? The Rams Cardinals. You had John Wolford, what I'm going to pronounce it, versus Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy, the veteran. Texas is back. Colt McCoy, he's veteran quarterback, and he's solid, man. He just wins. So Rams fall to 3-6. Yes, you heard that right. Yes, you did. The Rams were Super Bowl champions last year, and this season is just all the wheels are falling off the wagon. The wheels are just completely falling off. Stafford was out with the concussion today. Then Cup got hurt midway through that game. He took a major hit to his ankle. Oof, that man, I watched that in real time, and that was just rough. I was just like, oh my God. I texted my friend, and I was like, I really think Cooper Cup just broke his ankle. Now the reports came back, and Cooper Cup, I don't think he broke his ankle. They said um, he avoided worst case scenario, but it didn't look good. Then you got the Saints. You got the Saints next week. They're a struggling team, but the Saints are a mystery. They got a good defense. They're going to come at you. Obviously they're going to give you what they got. And rematch of, I think it was the 2019 NFC Championship game, the controversial PI. So Saints will be out for blood for that game. So, but the Rams. Let's talk a little bit about the Rams here for about 15 to 20 seconds. The Rams. The problem with the Rams is their offensive line isn't very good. They don't have any playmakers outside of Cooper Cup, and Stafford turns the ball over so freaking much. And then their defense hasn't showed up at all. I mean, they've got key pieces on the defense: Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner. I mean, they still have brand name guys, and they're just not they're not playing up to their level. And I think some of that has to do with, is it a Super Bowl hangover? No, I think teams have figured out the Rams. I really do. I mean, you don't have any playmakers outside of Cooper Cup. And Van Jefferson just got back. He's solid, but he's not going to. I don't know. The Rams are just a disappointment, and I think this season is probably a wash. The problem with the Rams is they don't have any draft picks. They're very similar. A lot of these LA teams are just like this. They're all about winning, win now, win now, win now. And I get that. You got Stafford. He's an older quarterback. Completely understand that. You went out there and you traded for him, so it makes total sense. But it comes back to bite you in the butt. It comes back to bite you later on from where you are at this season, because last season you won the Super Bowl. And okay, were they expected to repeat? Yeah, but look where they are now. They look just like any other team in the NFL. So I don't really have to talk about the Cardinals. Colt McCoy got the job done today. No Kyler Murray. They're 4-6 now. But one person I will say, it stood out obviously was Buda Baker today. He's just great. He's just a great player on the back end. He just does everything right, and he is just he's just a stud. Everything he does, he's great in zone. He's great in man. He's great at blitzing. He's great at reading the quarterback's eyes. Buda Baker's just a stud. There's nothing more to that one. So I want to talk about Jeff Saturday and the Colts. Jeff Saturday won his first game, and people were ripping him like crazy. People were ripping Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard for hiring for hiring Jeff Saturday when you had Gus Bradley on your staff, who did good coach. You hired a coach that's never coached in the NFL before, who was an ESPN analyst, but Jeff Saturday knows football. He was around the Colts for years. He understands the game of football. Sometimes it takes a younger coach like that for guys to believe in, and for veteran guys to just buy in. It's just sometimes that's how it is. I mean, what was weird to me is the Matt Ryan thing, right? Okay, so I understand it because Matt Ryan is a veteran and Sam Ellinger is a rookie basically in my book. He's young. He looked awful against the Patriots. It was completely understandable. So you did bench Matt Ryan, but that was before. That was the Frank Reich situation. So now you bring in Matt Ryan, and I think the Colts are at 4-5-1. They beat the Raiders today. The Raiders are a mess. I don't even know what to say about the Raiders. But sticking on the Colts quickly, Jonathan Taylor looked like himself. He was back. I think he had 20 carries for 140 yards and a touchdown. So their Colts aren't gonna really do anything, but I do think it makes sense for them to play Matt Ryan, especially all that money you're giving him. But I think after this season, they should move on from it. I'm sure they will. I mean, I would think, but yeah, I mean, it sometimes that's what it takes. A little bit of fire under your feet, and bringing in Jeff Saturday. Winning your first game as a head coach in the NFL, it's never easy going to win, but I mean, it's impressive. So, little bit of thoughts on the Colts there. So, moving on to the Raiders real quick. The Raiders fall to 2-6 or 2-7, or I think it's 2-7 now. But what really got me was Derek Carr. He's a great guy, on and off the field. He's a great guy. He's been around the NFL a while now, and he's never done anything wrong. And he was emotional at the presser, and that's what really got me when I saw that. I saw the tweet, and then I saw it on highlights, and I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, every player pours their heart and soul out to the NFL. I mean, it's a rough game. You're getting hit every play. You're putting your blood, sweat, and tears out there. I mean, these guys have families too. And, Derek Carr getting emotional at the presser, and the Raiders have been in really, really close games. So you just feel for the guy. You're like, man, I mean, are they going to win a game? Are they going to get close? I mean, yeah, they've won 2 games now, but I mean, they've just been close in a lot of their games. And I can understand, okay, Renfro's out now. He's on IR. Waller's out. So it's been, a bit of a disappointment, but you still have Adams, you still have Jacobs on the defensive side, and the D line, you still have Crosby and Jones. Their O line is, their secondaries, their linebackers are, so the Raiders, man, they're just one of those teams where, and Josh McDaniels, do you fire him? No, you got to get you. It hasn't even been a full season yet. You got to give it a little bit of time. I have a lot of Patriots fans. I'm a Patriots fan myself, and friends of mine. We want McDaniels back. We want him back. Want him back. Yeah, I think it'd be great for Mac Jones, because what Joe Judge and Patricia have done with him is a whole lot of nothing. But sticking on the Raiders, um, I don't think you can fire McDaniels. It's so early. Josh Jacobs is a free agent after this season, but they're going to figure out in the offseason is do we want Derek Carr as a quarterback going forward, or do we want to draft somebody? Because you're probably going to get a high draft. I mean, probably most likely going to get a high draft pick from the way the season is going and how it's going to turn out. And a lot of people were like, the Raiders they could potentially, go all the way with that roster or with those weapons and stuff. I never really saw it because I'm not the biggest Derek Carr guy, but he's played good this season. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns today, no turnovers, over 245, 250 yards, and it's not all on Derek Carr. They just don't have the roster. They don't have the pieces. They've got a couple guys, but obviously it doesn't help when Waller and Renfro. But even when they played, they still were just missing it. I don't know if there's miscommunication with McDaniels and the offense, or obviously their defense is just not very good. But moving on from the Raiders and the Raiders. Moving on from the Raiders. Short preview of the Commanders and the Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 11 points tomorrow night. Jalen Hurts can make a statement game tomorrow night. MVP statement game actually, because Josh Allen is kind of letting that slip to the wayside. But Mahomes is still there as well. I'm not really going to talk about the Chiefs and the Jags. Jags ended up losing by 10. The Chiefs won. Mahomes had a great day. Former Gator and former Giant Kadarius Toney had, I think it was 100 all-purpose yards today, and then Juju went out and he got hit hard. But Chiefs are the Chiefs. I don't really need to talk about them that much. But just a short little preview of that Commanders Eagles game tomorrow. Heineke versus Hurts, and the Eagles, they're undefeated right now, and it'd be interesting to see if the Commanders can cover the spread. Heineke's fun to watch. I mean, he's just kind of one of those like riverboat gamblers. He's going to give you all he got. He's going to give you all he's got, and he's just going to go out there and burn a limb and play. And obviously, I think that's kind of how the game will be tomorrow. Eagles should win that game. I'm sure they'll win the game, but just have some fun with it. Take the Commanders to cover plus 11. Why not? I honestly might. So going on to college football, quickly here. I'm watching that, Ole Miss Alabama game, and it's close through all the way throughout. And I actually ended up taking LSU plus 13 against Alabama this weekend. I almost took Ole Miss plus 11, but I was just like, oh my gosh, is Saban going to blow the doors off this week? Well, I think what really messed up Alabama these past two games, I mean, they won this game, but they lost the last one. I don't remember the last time Alabama's been scheduled on the road two back-to-back games like that where they're playing two ranked SEC opponents. Now, it's been quite some time. You had the LSU game where you were favored by 13 points. You blew that game. I mean, that game was crazy. I wish I could have came on here when if I had a mic to record that and talk about the game. Oh my gosh, that game was nuts. But back to the Alabama Ole Miss game. They ended up winning 30-24. It came down to, right at the end there. But, Bryce Young made the plays when it mattered. I was one of the touchdowns he threw. Oh, my goodness. He got the ball, rolled out to his right, made the defender miss, and he found Ja'Cory Brooks in the back of the end zone. I was like, yeah, you're going to be seeing that on Sundays. So that's where I'm going to leave it at that one. Texas goes down to TCU. Texas was ranked 18th. TCU was ranked fourth or fifth or I had them. They're ranked fourth right now, and so they're ranked fourth. Yes, but I'm not really into TCU like that. I definitely need to do my research on them, but Texas, I mean, they were 6-3 before that game, and they were ranked 18th. Now they're 6-4 and they're unranked, which they deserve to be unranked. Quinn Ewers was, super impressive at the beginning of the season, but I just really haven't seen a whole lot there. Obviously, I know they have Bijan Robinson, but I just really haven't seen a whole lot from Texas other than that, Alabama game. So yes, I think they deserve to be unranked, and they only scored 10 points. So, I mean, how can you really be, excited about Texas? So moving on to the LSU Arkansas game. I'm a huge Gator fan, and it always pains me to talk about LSU, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, all those other teams. But there's one player on LSU that flew off my screen watching that game. Harold Perkins Jr. Yes, you heard that right. I'm sure you all know who he is if you watch college football and you understand you watch college football. He is just something special. He's only a freshman, and he just insane out there. He's extremely athletic. I mean, he's getting sacks. He's tackled for loss. He ended up with 8 total tackles, 4 sacks, and 2 tackles for loss as a freshman. He took over that Arkansas LSU game like it was nothing from start to finish. I was just like, oh my gosh, Harold Perkins again. I look over on my phone, Harold Perkins again. I mean, he was just a force to be reckoned with in that game. And LSU, they're just one of those teams, man. I couldn't figure them out at the beginning of the season, and their offense is still but their defense is really, really coming to play. I mean, especially in that game against Arkansas. I mean, it's Arkansas, but still, I mean, their defense is legit, and they're going to play Georgia in the SEC championship. I can't wait for that game. That's going to be a fun game. Georgia should win that game. I mean, they're definitely going to be the favorites, but Brian Kelly, man, I mean, you got to be impressed, I guess. I mean, now you're 7-2. At first, you thought the wheels were falling off. It was like, oh, they lost to FSU. Oh, they lost another one. Oh, where's their identity? They found their identity now. They know where they're at now. And Jaden Daniels has been spectacular for LSU. He's been spectacular. So, but yeah, it's going to be a breath of fresh air for no Alabama in the SEC championship. It'll be fun to watch. Georgia and versus LSU. So yeah, I honestly think I think it'll be a good one. So anyways, I talked about the NFL. I really, really talked about the NFL. I was super focusing on that just because it's it's in season right now, and I'm honing in on that. But I also talked about some college football. To end the show, I want to talk a little bit about the NBA. I don't have any notes on the NBA, but I can kind of just go off the top of my mind. The Lakers are 3-10. They've just been, kind of a disaster. They ended up beating the Nets tonight with no LeBron, and it was good to see, AD, do his thing. He ended up with 37 and 18. Westbrook was 4-15 from the field with 14, 12, and 6. So, but they got other guys that showed up tonight. Lonnie Walker, I think he finished with 25 points. Austin Reeves finished with 15. So, but I'm, thinking about the NBA right now, and it's so early to tell. I mean, the Warriors are 6-7 or 6-8. The Cavs looked really good to start the season. They've lost 3 or 4 straight now. So right now, I mean, I just don't think there's a clear number one unless it's Milwaukee. Now, everyone, Milwaukee I feel like they're kind of in their own category right now, which makes sense. I mean, Giannis is on a whole nother level, and they're doing this without Middleton. So and then Boston in the East, obviously, Boston's great defensively. Tatum and Brown are arguably the best duo in the NBA, if not the best. On the in the West, you got the Suns right now. They're still at the top of their game, and lastly, the Suns just they don't. I mean, they don't do anything with Jay Crowder. I wish they would trade him to a team where he could actually play. But yeah, I mean, the Suns right now they're at the top of the West. The West is really solid all around. I mean, there's just a lot of teams that are right at 500, but it's still really early. Teams are still, finding their identity. The Lakers, they're still not where they want to be. I mean, hopefully they can, turn it around. They got a couple days of rest. They don't play the Pistons until Friday, which desperately need that win. Desperately need some rest for LeBron and AD. So, talked about the NBA, NFL. I didn't really touch on college, excuse me, college baseball, but I think that's going to do it for us today. I really wanted to talk about the NFL and the NBA in this one, but like I said, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcast, and we're on TikTok as well. I'm so glad that I'm able to record again and give you guys my intake and my thoughts about these sports games, as well as a little bit into my life and kind of where I'm at. So it was a pleasure as always, and that's episode 44 from the Inquisitive Mamba. We are signing off, and we'll see you next time.